What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dirty Bird Fly Through. And, when I tell you these recap videos, they're becoming harder and harder to make. And it's not even because we're losing. Obviously, that makes it harder than obviously if we were to win, but it's the way we're losing because it's week after week. It feels like we're talking about the same crap in the same ways that we lost. And it makes it so frustrating because it's clear and obvious that the Falcons are not learning from their mistakes. No matter how much you try to give them the benefit of the doubt, no matter how much you try to hope that they are going to change, that just something is going to click inside, and this team remembers that they're out on an NFL field. They're not out on a high school field or a college field, that they're all NFL players and they need to play at an NFL level consistently week after week. But it just does not happen. We see this team come out, show flashes. They may take the lead. They may put up all the stats in the world, but in the end they're gonna find a way to lose. And that's just the reality of what a bad team disguising to be competitive is. That's what the Atlanta Falcons are. They are a bad team disguising themselves as competitive. And the Falcons are a bad team because they're poorly coached, because they're inconsistent with their play, and because the organization as a whole is an entire mess that you don't know what you're going to get from week to week. The Falcons lose 31-25 in Berlin, Germany to the Indianapolis Colts, and it was pretty much the same crap that we have seen from the Falcons when they play stateside, except you had to wake up at 9:30 to watch the BS. You had to see the Falcons have so many opportunities in this game. The defense, drive after drive after drive, especially through the first three quarters, they held up. They held the number one offense in the NFL to 13 points through three quarters. And look, we knew that Jonathan Taylor was an absolute monster. We knew that there's no stopping Jonathan Taylor entirely. But in large part, the Falcons were able to slow Jonathan Taylor down as much as possible through three quarters to give this offense a chance heading late into this game to be able to take control. What is the same thing we hear that I'm honestly so sick of hearing? But what do we continue to hear out of Raheem Morris's mouth that the run game is the lifeline? Well, guess what? You had opportunities to get your run game going when it really mattered, when you could have used them at their most crucial moment as a lifeline. You could have leaned on them to finish out this game, and you failed to do so. You didn't even make an effort to run the ball on second down. You never built off of the running plays until it was already too late and you already were behind and you had to go get a touchdown and a 2 point conversion to be on top. But even after that, you had opportunities to win this game and you let them go right through your hands. Having the Colts at 3rd and 22 on their side of the field after you get a big sack, that should have been game over. But no, Daniel Jones, he got a big run, had got about 19 yards out of it. The Colts were able to go down, convert a 4th and short, were able to get back in field goal range and tie the game to take the game to overtime. And in overtime, it was all Colts. But the game should have never went to overtime. And it would be easy to blame the defense in that spot. And sure, you got to hold them accountable still. This defense, they have not been perfect. But no defense is perfect in the NFL. When your defense is out there for most of the game like ours was, because the Colts absolutely dominated the time possession, they're going to get tired as the game goes on. That's just natural. And you can't ask your defense to bail you out every single drive because your offense keeps going three and out, three and out. Michael Penix cannot hit an accurate pass worth a crap in the second half. He, I believe, after halftime went 5 for 18, which is it's absolutely asinine. You're never gonna win when your quarterback goes 5 for 18 in the second half. And when you don't rely on the running game when you lead, how many times have we seen the Falcons lose a game because, once again, when they should be running the football, they decide to get cheesy and pass for absolutely no reason other than continue to prove that this team is being coached by a bunch of dumbasses. And you cannot continue to rely on this defense to bail you out week after week, and we saw it today. They were able to hold up all game until it mattered most when they were already out there the entire game. That is where Jonathan Taylor was absolutely just able to break the backs of this defense. But you have to come together and say it's a team effort. This is not a one-sided game. You can't win games putting up 0 points for most of the second half, or 3 points for most of the second half. You have to show up. When you get the ball, you have to go down. You have to make long drives out of it, and you got to get points. That's how the Falcons had a clear-cut opportunity to win this game and potentially somehow flip the script at least a little bit on where their season had been heading. But today was the backbreaker for a lot of people and where this season is heading. The Falcons are now 3-6. They are only a game ahead of the New Orleans Saints, who have been one of the worst teams in the NFL offseason, but they did win today against the Carolina Panthers. And obviously the Falcons face the Panthers next Sunday in Atlanta, which the Benz is going to be absolutely dead next Sunday. I can go ahead and tell you right now, the stadium's going to be absolutely dead next Sunday, especially with a team that is currently on a 4-game losing streak. And this is now the second straight season that the Falcons have had such a losing streak for 4 consecutive games. And it boils down to one man, Raheem Morris. And that is where I say the Falcons, they need to go ahead. They need to make the decision to fire Raheem Morris. Now, they're not going to do it after this game. They're not going to fire Raheem. They're not going to fire Zach Robinson. But I get the feeling that we're inching closer and closer to it than we have been. And I truly get the feeling that if the Falcons end up losing their next 2 games to the Panthers and then the Saints, if we lose our next 2 games, I think at that point Raheem Morris is starting to get fired, essentially. Because, see, Arthur Blank, he only fires after losses to divisional rivals. He doesn't really care about the AFC losses, but when you come and you embarrass yourself in front of a divisional rival, that's when Arthur Blank, he lets people go. So I'm telling everyone, at the end of the day, Raheem Morris might be on borrowed time, and it's very possible that he will be gone within the next couple weeks if the losing continues. And I actually feel like that is more likely than it has ever been, because where the Falcons have been heading since the Buffalo Bills game, it has not been anything that I think anyone desired for the Falcons. It was nothing that I think we expected after that Bills game. I think we thought that even if we lost to the 49ers, that, okay, things could be all right. You come home, you take care of business against the Dolphins, which we know the Falcons did not do. The Falcons got absolutely routed. But even after that, these last 2 games, you have had opportunities to win both of them, and you couldn't pull away with it because you got in the way of yourself. You got in the way of yourself, and you are a bad team, and you found a way to lose. And that is why morale is so low right now. And I truly do question, despite all the talk that the locker room is still united, is the locker room really united? Because you had several guys that had standout performances once again today. And those performances, they went to waste. Your defense, 7 sacks, 2 turnovers, did everything that you could have asked for them to do. I really don't even care that much about the late game situation because they were out on the field the entire game. What else do you want them to do? I mean, what do you really want them to do? Become become Jesus Christ reincarnated? That's not going to happen. At the end of the day, you can only hold up so much, especially when it is a one-sided effort and your offense has essentially clocked out for most of the second half, continuing to go three and out and three and out. Now, I want to talk about Michael Penix for a second because Michael Penix did not have a good day at all. Michael Penix definitely, I think you can put a good amount of blame on. Michael Penix clearly has an accuracy issue. He has an intentional grounding issue. And if he's going to make it as a quarterback in this league, especially the intentional grounding is something that he's going to have to get out of really quickly. But at this point in time, with the Falcons and where their season is, that needs to be one of your top priorities, is getting Michael Penix back to doing the fundamentals right. Because after that, everything else falls in place. But there is clearly issues with Michael Penix. He's clearly easily rattled. But we finally, I think, saw today Michael Penix speak up. We saw him take accountability after the game. We saw him get pissed off during the game. And we're going to need some of that. We're going to need to see over these final couple games of this season, the second half, Michael Penix create that fire. We're going to have to see that fire be ignited in him for him, I think, to get better as a quarterback and for this team to really be rallied around him entirely. Because, believe it or not, despite the fact that Michael Penix, looks like a raw quarterback and has had a lot of downs, he's had issues with touch on the football, he's clearly had the accuracy issues, he's had several misses, he has an intentional grounding issue. You cannot deny that there's also a lot of talent with Michael Penix, particularly with his arm, with his quick release, with how he could basically fit in any throw on the field. He's just got to know the right accuracy to put on it, the right touch to put on it. That is something that Michael Penix needs to get from, I would say, another quarterback coach. He needs someone that he can work with, and it's clearly nobody on the staff. It's not DJ Williams. It's not TJ Yates. It sure as fuck is not Zach Robinson. Michael Penix needs somebody else that he can work with and another coaching staff that can get the most out of him and harvest that talent. So that is where I say you got to give Michael Penix another coaching staff. You cannot throw Michael Penix away and judge Michael Penix based off of the shit show that Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson run. It's an absolute clown show. It is a Timu NFL offense, especially with all the talent that you have. It's absolutely sickening. And I do want to give out some game balls for today's game because I do feel like there are some guys that deserve their recognition. The first guy is Drake London, who for a second straight week has put in a very impressive day out on the field. Drake London with another 100-yard game. He had a touchdown from Penix that was just beautifully thrown, and it's what I do talk about when I say there is upside. It was a beautifully thrown touchdown pass by Michael Penix and was the highlight of Drake London's 6 catches for 104 yards and 1 touchdown day. And at the end of the day, listen, you can't continue to waste these performances from Drake London because he's only going to be here. Listen, you're going to have to pay Drake London soon. And Drake London's going to have a decision to make. And if Drake London is not pleased with the direction of the Falcons, it's very possible that Drake London may not want to sign here long term. And that would absolutely be a gut wrench to a lot of people, including myself, and to Michael Penix. That is why, once again, something has to change for these players' sakes. Drake London is one of them, but kudos to Drake London for his stellar day today, especially against Sauce Gardner, who I will say when Sauce Gardner was on Drake London, it was definitely more of a 50-50 contest, but still, he gave this Colts team a lot of fits, especially in the first half. The second guy I want to give a game ball to is Tyler Algier. And he's another guy who he's coming up on a contract year. You really do not know if you are going to see Tyler Algier on this team past this year. And honestly, I would probably say you're not going to. And he's another guy that you have clearly seen the best years of him. You're not having to pay him, and you've absolutely went out and wasted it. 11 carries, 57 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Late in the game, Tyler Algier was a machine. He was going, and he tried to give he gave the Falcons a chance. He made the plays. He was a part of that drive that did get the Falcons back on top. And Tyler Algier should have honestly been used a lot earlier in this game. We should have seen Tyler Algier out there on the drive after the forced fumble that the Falcons recovered. We should have seen him out there after the 4-and-out stand that the Falcons defense made at the end of the third quarter. That is where Tyler Algier should have went to work, and his work would have meant a whole lot more because it likely would have meant that the Falcons won. But because the Falcons decide to overcomplicate things, we see that the Falcons lost, and this effort, it doesn't mean much, but it's still going to get recognized for a game ball. And the third and final guy I am going to recognize is on the defensive side of the ball. That is Caden Ellis. He was all over the field today. He made some very nice plays on Tyler Warren when he was covering him. He got a sack. He got to Daniel Jones several times. And Caden Ellis is another guy. He has been very stellar for this defense. Has kind of been a rock solid piece to this defense now for several years. But due to the lack of results, it makes you question, is he realistically going to want to stick around here in Atlanta? And that really leads back to a conversation of, once again, where are the Falcons going? What is the direction of this team? And it is really frustrating. And honestly, for me personally, it's probably the most frustrated I've maybe ever actually been watching Falcons football. And there have been some frustrating seasons, as we all know. 2020 was a frustrating season. Even the last few years where we had leads in the division, it seemed like we were well on our way to getting to the playoffs, but then we had a catastrophic collapse. Even those years, I don't think were worse than this year has been. And we're 3-6, but we've had so many missed opportunities, and the fact that we can go out and we can beat the Bills, but yet we lose games like this because we simply can't build off of plays. We can't take control of the game late. We had opportunities to. This is the best Falcons defense we have seen in many, many years. And it is absolutely being wasted because this offense is not just below average. They are absolutely awful. And now it leaves the Falcons in a spot where you really don't know where this team is heading for the rest of the year. You hope you know that it is ending with the firings of Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson. And honestly, at the end of the day, even though Terry Fontenot has done some good, Terry Fontenot, I also feel like, you have to get him out of here because despite the good Terry Fontenot has done, you can't let him see a third head coach with a track record of 5 years without any playoffs. The Falcons' only path to the playoffs at this point is literally winning out. That's not going to happen. So it's very likely that we're getting closer and closer to a full-blown house cleaning in Flowery Branch. But with that being said, appreciate everyone for watching. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share out. I will see you all in the next one.